everyone. Namaskar, Kem Cho, Kasakai, and Vanakkam. I'm Zenia Fernandez, your host, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome all of you to the launch of Rivaah Aashirwaad, a virtual press conference. So before we begin with the agenda for today, let me take you through a couple of very important aspects of the virtual world that we are in. You are watching us live right now. This is a live webcast of Rivaah Aashirwaad. The microsite that you are on does not allow you to go live with your audio and your video. However, you can ask questions via the question box that is located at the top right-hand corner of the screen. It's on your laptop and on the main video screen. Now, in case you are viewing this on your handheld device, then you can scroll a little bit down to access the Q&A box. We will answer all your questions at the end of the session. And at any stage, if your screen freezes, please feel free to hit the refresh button to join us right back again. We would like to start by wishing you and your families a very personal best, and we sincerely hope that you all had a happy and a very safe Diwali. We would also like to express our profound gratitude to each one of you who've made the time today to join us here. Thank you so much. So before we start the session, allow me to introduce Mr. Ajoy Chawla, who is the CEO of Titan's jewelry business that houses iconic brands such as Tanishq, Mia, Zoya, and CaratLane. The jewelry business today has a network strength of 450 plus exclusive retail outlets in 200 plus towns, and also has an extensive manufacturing and geographically dispersed sourcing network in India. Okay, so let's talk about that great festive season that we had. But what comes after it is that we are at the helm of the much awaited wedding season. Weddings are, undeniably one of the most important part of our lives. We plan weddings for months, sometimes even years in advance. Right from the venue to the setup, from the guest list to jewelry plays an integral part of this particular plan. And while this sentiment is, shared across communities across the entire country, the similarity stops here. Every community has its own take on jewelry. Now, Tanishq understood this need to be different and yet to be rooted in tradition. It launched a sub-brand, Rivaah, that exclusively caters to wedding jewelry needs from every Indian bride. It's true to its purpose. Rivaah is coined by combining two words, Rivaahs and Vivaah. With the onset of the wedding season and a great lineup of auspicious wedding dates in the upcoming months, the brand would like to reveal its consumer-focused plans. So here we go. This is that time where I invite to your screens Mr. Ajoy Chawla to unveil the consumer-centric plans for Rivaah. Mr. Chawla, over to you.
Thanks, Zinia. Good afternoon to all of you, and a warm welcome to the launch of Rivaah Aashirwaad. It's a virtual press conference as shared by Zinia, and we live in different times and very interesting times, so we have to adapt to that. Ideally, one would have loved to meet all of you in person, but for the moment, I guess, in the interest of safety and carrying on with life, we have to do with this. This is the launch of Rivaah Aashirwaad on the annual of the wedding season, which typically follows the festive season. This time the wedding season is even more packed and important because so many people missed on celebrating their weddings and having that special day in Q1 when most of India, in fact all of India, was in a lockdown. I think there were a few markets where there were wedding dates like in Tamil Nadu, I think even in Q2. But for most of India, the wedding season kind of ends in June and then recommences after this festive period. So a lot of young brides and grooms hopefully waiting to tie the knot and make their lives even more special. But before I talk about the Rivaah Aashirwaad program itself, which we are introducing now, let me give you a little bit of introduction to Rivaah and its origins. Rivaah is a sub-brand from Tanishq, and we launched this in March 2007. Still, to gain a much larger footprint across all over the country and all the stores, we are present with wedding jewelry in almost every store, but we have created specific zones, 115 specific zones in many of the stores, in 115 stores. And we have close to 100 destination stores where you have a much deeper variety of wedding jewelry. Rivaah, as a range, essentially comprises wedding jewelry catering to 17 different communities. In fact, we would like to believe that Tanishq offers wedding jewelry for each and every bride in India. And we have communities, you saw in the video, from the west to the north to the south to east, to every different region of the country, different communities which have different traditions and different kinds of products that are relevant in different rituals and traditions which are connected to the wedding ceremony itself. I think over 70% of the jewelry is bought for the Saat Feras, or the most auspicious part of the wedding ceremony, and the remaining for the rest of the functions. So during this wedding season, during the wedding occasion itself and the different rituals that are there, each community has a different requirement of products, and even the trousseau of the bride comprises many different products, from the harams to the chokers to the bangles to the jadaws, so there are many different, to the wankis, to the waist belts. So different communities have different requirements of products, and we have tried to go deep into understanding the needs of these different communities and the different occasions and the rituals which involve the wearing of this particular product that is there, and try to build a trousseau for each of these different brides from these many different communities. Of course, the journey is endless. The heritage and culture that Indians have associated with weddings and jewelry is very deeply interwoven. In fact, if you go back and look at the research that we had recently commissioned, I believe the Mangal Sutra, as a, it is, everybody knows the Mangal Sutra and every community celebrates it in some form, but its origins really date back to 5,000 years old, from the Indus Valley civilization. India, as you know, has a rich heritage and history of textile, and from the textile emerged the thread, the cotton thread, and the sutra or the sutli, which actually connects the different beads. Started with black beads, then golden beads, then black corals, and then more gold, and it finally evolved into what we see today as a Mangal Sutra. So we can, it's fascinating. Every piece of jewelry has some history attached to it, and it has some connection with the rituals inside. If you look at the Rivaah bride of today, she is a progressive new age girl who is deeply proud of her traditions, very rooted in her culture. And while she is wanting to participate in these traditions, she also wants to understand where all these rituals are coming from, why this particular jewelry has an important role to play in the ritual, and how does the tradition become even richer in her mind once she participates in it rather than blindly following it. So we are targeting that woman of today who is progressive, proud of her heritage and culture, but also wants to understand, wants to participate actively as a Rivaah bride. In 2020, there are many things that have changed in the entire Rivaah and the wedding approach. Of course, we know that after the lockdown, we've had restrictions, and for our own safety, rightfully so. The number of people that can be attending these different functions, I mean, the big fat Indian wedding as we know it, across 5-6 different days over different celebratory events, has now got compressed into perhaps one or at best 2 events. And also we cannot invite more than 50 or 100 people depending on the respective state we are in. So This is the reality, and in this context, the importance of the auspiciousness of the rituals that are done for the wedding have in fact got heightened. All the other things have got a little downplayed, and the most important ritual has got heightened. And within that ritual, the wedding jewelry plays an even more important role. So not only has the share of wallet naturally grown for jewelry, as we are seeing it already today, even in our business, but the importance of the wedding jewelry and the recognition that even though I may not be able to give my daughter or my daughter-in-law a fabulous, massive event, perhaps, I can certainly welcome her into my house or bid her goodbye towards her new journey with jewelry, which is as eternal as the love that the parent has for the daughter. So I think the importance of the most auspicious rituals and ceremonies and the jewelry associated with that has only got heightened. The second big thing that we see is that even though there are lockdowns and there are restrictions and and it's a relationship which is celebrated over time. And during the purchase of jewelry, as a preparation, as part of the fun, as part of the excitement, I think three different generations of people come together from the family to buy jewelry. Not just the bride, but her grandmother, her mother, all the relatives, the father, of course, and sometimes even a younger sister. So many different generations come together, and this collective purchase behavior adds to the fun and drama of the wedding. But not everybody may be able to come in such a scenario. So how do we enable wedding purchases during this period in a manner which is safe is very important. Tanishq has launched several digital initiatives and remote shopping initiatives. So one of the biggest ones has been in enabling customers and people to shortlist and select jewelry from the comfort of their homes. And we have had enough and more experiences of customers actually, the entire family sitting and spending several hours on a remote video call with the store and connected to their smart TV, and all of them spending several hours in selecting the jewelry. And after making a shortlist, either they would like the jewelry to come home, the shortlisted one, so that they can make the final choice, and we've enabled that. Or more often than not, a couple of members of the family will come down, of course the bride herself, to try on the jewelry in the store and complete the purchase within maybe half an hour, 10-15 minutes to half an hour, which would otherwise have taken several hours. And of course, the older generation would have found it very difficult to come during this time. So it is all very safe that smaller groups can come. The other important thing, many of our customers, we encourage them to take an appointment so that we can ensure that they are being exclusively served in a very safe, sanitized environment with appropriate social distancing and no other customers during that time period for this long purchase, in case people don't want to do video-based remote shopping. So these are things which we've taken care of, and I think no emphasis on safety can be small. It's very, very important that even as we think we are kind of, heading towards a vaccination, and we are all beginning to feel quite fed up of sitting at home and observing all these safety precautions and, washing our hands all the time. I think it's very natural for human beings to feel very worn out by all this. I think given what we are seeing in the world, in other countries, there's a very strong second wave. Even in many parts of our country, especially in the northern and some of the western states, we are beginning to see a second wave. And this is exactly the time that we must be even more cautious, even more alert and vigilant. And I can assure you that Tanishq will continue to be strong and pledge to be the safest stores in town. No question about it. We are very alert. We are ensuring audits all the time. We are ensuring there is a deep level of sensitization with all our staff. And if there is any suspicion of anybody actually having any symptoms, we ensure that they go home. We are also ensuring that all the staff who come in are well protected. They are wearing those shields, wearing masks, they have gloves, and the jewelry gets sanitized and so on. So all the protocols that we have put in, we have in fact, if I'm not mistaken, now come to version 3.2 of those protocols, and that is being very rigorously followed. So I think it's very, very important. The third element of weddings this year is to recognize that when there is a situation of a pandemic that we have seen, it's unprecedented. These are very volatile situations, uncertain, and it creates a lot of insecurity in all our minds. And during such a time, I think as human beings, we gravitate towards what we call as our safe canopies or our safe havens. Gold has been a safe haven in a different way from a financial perspective, as an instrument, as an asset class. But more importantly, I think when we are faced with uncertainty, we see home and family, our traditions, our culture, and we start rediscovering all of that in a stronger way. It happened in the form of television serials initially, but I think we start getting closer to our roots. And when it comes to roots, I think our wedding traditions, our wedding rituals, and the jewelry associated with that, that also becomes more important. And that also, in some subconscious way, is influencing even the bride of today to perhaps engage more deeply with her cultural heritage. And that is something which we have picked up as an insight. Coming quickly to what is the Rivaah Aashirwaad program, I think it is a plan. It's a program which enables people to plan for the jewelry purchase. Typically, the jewelry is bought it's planned several months in advance. The wedding engagement happens, anytime between 6 to 9 months before the actual event. The dates and the venues are planned well in advance. All the trousseau of the bride, the clothes that she's going to wear, all of that is continuing to be an important journey. And because it's a high ticket value investment, it could vary from certain communities 150 grams to all the way 800 grams of jewelry, and well planned affair. And we've been seeing that in our stores. We've had requests from customers saying, why don't you enable this by helping us to plan it in a better manner? So we came out with a program called the Rivaah Aashirwaad program, which helps the family to procure this jewelry in a systematic manner. It's a flexible program. It is from a minimum of 6 installments to a maximum of 10 installments. All of it is well within 1 year. It's a shorter term program. It is not exceeding a year. It's well within 1 year. The redemption of all the amount that is saved in a systematic manner in a monthly installment basis is to be redeemed not later than 11 months. By the 11th month, the redemption takes place. So it is 6 installments to 10 installments to be redeemed by the 7th month or the 11th month. And the flexibility is that if a particular installment is missed in a particular month, people can come back and still continue their program. So it is a flexible purchase plan which enables a systematic purchase and acquisition of jewelry. And typically we see that people will come and shortlist something, buy some gold, buy some bangles, then later on buy some haram. So they'll typically leave the accessories for a slightly later date, like the monk tikkas or the Vanki jewelry in Tanishq. In fact, we are able to offer a totally customized trousseau, as well as our individual pieces can be designed both in gold and studded. The Rivaah Aashirwaad program itself, has been named Aashirwaad because we believe jewelry purchase is really an expression of the eternal blessings that parents have for their daughters. And certainly when it comes to a wedding related event and a wedding purchase where a lot of jewelry is bought, it is also in some ways the blessings and the sridhan that is passed on to the bride by the parents. So it is a very, very deep affair. It's an eternal blessing and love. It's a symbol of love, which is perennial. And therefore we thought Aashirwaad is just the perfect name with it. So Rivaah Aashirwaad therefore is that beautiful program which enables the parents to kind of help plan for their purchase of jewelry for the bride. Of course, the bride is involved at every stage, especially the Tanishq Rivaah bride, because she is a very active participant in what she is going to wear, why she is going to wear, and how this is important in which part of the ritual. And therefore, that's what this is about. The minimum, in the case of Rivaah Aashirwaad, the minimum monthly installment is starting at 20,000, and of course, it can go much higher. There are special benefits in the form of discount typically at the end of the period when you are redeeming the amount, there is the discount on making charge up to 40%. So there is also a price advantage that is there. Of course, for enabling people to buy Rivaah right through the year, we have bundling discount offers which are always on, but this is over and above that. So not only now the Rivaah bride can expect to get beautiful, stunningly beautiful jewelry, which is the best quality. We would like to believe the best quality that the world has to offer, and with the purity and trust of Tanishq at a competitive price. So it really enables the purchase of Rivaah in a very, very simplified manner. I think I've shared enough about both Rivaah and Rivaah Aashirwaad. We think this is a great opportunity for all those people who are planning for their weddings, ahead over the next 6 to 9 months, and this will be an ongoing program. The period of the program will always be within a year, but it is an ongoing program. So at any point in time, you can start this program, and our stores will be able to explain very beautifully, as will our website, what all is involved. It has a lot of, there is a lovely brochure which is there, which talks all about it, and you will find it in our stores. Plus, you will find a lot of information on our website as well. So thank you for listening in to this long message. But I thought it's a good opportunity to share all that's happening on the wedding jewelry side. There's lots of questions normally people ask me and all of us about how wedding jewelry is important and how weddings are important and how Tanishq is planning his journey there. And this journey started for us about a few years ago, but it has now grown into a significant momentum. So thank you once again for patient listening, and we can now open up for conversations. Over to you, Xenia. We can have an open house discussion on all questions.
Yes, Mr. Chawla, and thank you so much for giving us. I think I'm just going to go through them one at a time with you. Smita asks, overall, what was the sales growth?
Of course, wedding jewelry has done well because a lot of purchase happens for weddings during the festive period. During this period, typically we also see a lot of interest in gold coins and bullion, so that has continued to do well, like it normally does, as well as the way the beginning of this year has been, the financial year. So it has continued to do well. Very interestingly, even studded jewelry has done well for us. In fact, we are very enthused and happy with the response of studded jewelry during this period. Typically, Q3 is not a very big studded quarter for us, but this time around, we are seeing the recovery has been good, and therefore we are happy about the studded jewelry. In terms of the lower ticket sizes, I think the overall number of customers in lower ticket sizes continue to be a little sluggish, if you ask me, in the sub 50,000 and sub 1 lakh. I think that's because gold prices itself have shifted upwards significantly. So in the sub 50,000 price band, a lot of product gaps are there in terms of being able to offer products in those price points. And also, I think those are casual purchases, and that customer is not necessarily in a hurry to purchase. So she may come back later, so on and so forth. So, and if I look at the rest of the price bands, I think we have seen fairly good recovery in the, we continue to see very good recovery in the 1 to 5 lakh range and even in the 5 lakh plus. So yes, it's only the lower price bands where we are still seeing a little bit of sluggishness. That too more in the plain gold. In studded, it's starting to show improvements there.
Another question where she's asking, by what % has the natural wallet for wedding jewelry increased by compared to 2019, the same quarter?
I don't have answer for that, see, the share of wedding, I can share this much, the share of wedding related jewelry sale for us has now climbed up to about 24% in this quarter. And it is comparable to what it was last year. See, we if I look at it for the whole year, Q1 we lost out. Quarter 2, we saw a better wedding share than last year. We were at 22% versus 20% of last year. Quarter 3, in the first, couple of months, we are seeing a 24% contribution, and which is comparable to last year. So overall, we are on track, and I would say in terms of contribution has climbed up quickly. Has the share of wallet dramatically gone up? I don't have a measure for it, but the fact that we are seeing continued interest in the category and growth, I would like to believe that the share of wallet has gone up, because we wouldn't have seen that if people are not, anyway, they are not spending money on other events, and they are not spending money on travel and destination weddings and many events that are there. And we know that even the purchases for the investment in buying clothes has come down, etc. So overall, therefore, I think we are seeing a good growth. And my colleague here indicates to me that the ticket values have gone up. Thanks. Yeah. The average ticket value has gone up by around 40% for wedding purchases. Part of it is due to gold price itself being higher, and part of it could indicate perhaps that the share of wallet may have gone up, all facing, which is the humanitarian challenge. I think until a cure and or a vaccine is found for COVID, that remains the biggest challenge. The uncertainty of how this particular pandemic is behaving, thankfully the mortality rate has kind of remained under control. But the reality is that there is a second wave, and there is perennial uncertainty for customers. So a lot of people, in this uncertainty, might always think about deferring things, about saying, okay, maybe we can wait a while, let's see where it goes. So that remains the largest challenge, if you ask me. And related to that challenge are two associated challenges, if I may point out. One is purely physical. How do we ensure safe transactions for all our customers at any point in time? 100% safety, zero error possibility. I think that remains for a large player like us with 450 plus retail footprint. We have to ensure across 200 plus towns, we need to ensure that every transaction, every customer, every store is 100% safe. We cannot afford even a single distraction on that front. So that becomes a big challenge to ensure that over a long period of time, how do we keep store staff and customers both alert that you may think it's all over, but it's not over. So please bear with us and, do the necessary stuff, wear the mask, wash your hands, take the oximeter reading, do the steaming, so on and so forth. Another associated challenge, I think there is a certain gold price fluctuation that we are seeing. In the beginning of the fiscal year, we saw a rapid rise of gold price, and customers are expecting it to go even beyond what it is. In the last few months, I would say, and certainly in the last few weeks, we have seen a certain unwinding of that high position, and it has corrected to some extent. A lot of it is linked to the vaccine being discovered, positive news, maybe American elections, because it's the dollar rate per troy ounce and then the dollar rupee rate combination which plays a role. So there is a fair amount of volatility in gold price, and that can keep customers a little spooked. Thankfully, so far, we have not really had this situation. In fact, we are seeing that with gold prices having corrected, the sentiment for buying, whether for wedding or otherwise, has continued to be remaining as strong as it was during the festive period. So that covers the challenges that we see. Recovery, I can't say, because, so far all I can say is that the festive season growth has sustained post-festive. That's the best I can say. How things emerge over the rest of the quarter and the next quarter is a function of what happens. So certainly during the festive season, I can say that we have stopped talking about recovery and we have started talking about growth.
Which is fantastic. Okay, so Mr. Chawla, we're going to take the next question from Mamta from Times of India. And in fact, Sonal Khetarpal from Business Today has a very similar question to Mamta's. Mamta asks, how much growth have you registered in lightweight jewelry sales in 2020 as compared to the last year? And on the same line, Sonal is also inquiring about people buying lighter jewelry within this segment, and how has the category of wedding jewelry grown this year as far as light jewelry is concerned?
So we were expecting, hi Mamta, hi Sonal, thanks for the question. Like you, we have also been anticipating the need for lighter weight jewelry because of the rising price of gold. And perhaps some customers may also want to limit the budget based on the, let's say, some amount of pressure on their earnings. Having said that, so far we have not yet seen a huge thrust towards lightweight. We did introduce through Ekatvam several lighter weight products, which in a way enabled people to remain within their regular budgets and yet accommodate the higher price of gold by giving a lower weight for the same look. So that has worked very well for us. That particular design innovation and production engineering has worked. But are we seeing a huge demand for very lightweight jewelry? As of now, we can't say. Only when we start seeing a lot of customers come in and perhaps walk out in the sub 50,000 price band, I could say that. But that has not yet happened. It is not that we simply have not seen traction in that price band because that customer is still not yet comfortable stepping out. Online, even online, I would say the ticket prices have gone up significantly this year. Maybe because the more traditional customer is also buying online. In carat lane, I'm aware that lightweights, carat lane is largely in the sub 1 lakh and a big contribution is below the 50,000. So there we are seeing lightweights continue to do well. But in Tanishq, we have yet to conclude on that whether people are hugely seeking lightweight jewelry. But our efforts are continuously on to ensure that we are able to offer people a very good value by giving them a good spread within lower weights so that they can manage to keep within their budget, within a neighborhood of 10-15% of their budget, original budget, so that they can buy something which they find attractive. And that has been a huge effort from our design and product engineering side. But for weddings, I would imagine as you go forward, and especially as we go into rural wedding next year from March, April onwards, I would expect that there will be a demand for, let's say, more bang for the buck, as we call it. So within that 150 grams or 200 grams, can you give me as many pieces as you can? Can you give me the haram, the bangle, the mang tikka, whatever other things that are bare minimum needed so that they can all come within that budget? I think that will be there. Right now, what we are witnessing is a significant urban wedding, and there the pressure on that has not yet been felt. In fact, we are seeing a lot of demand for higher value wedding as well and diamond products as well.
All right, Mr. Chawla, thank you for shedding light on that. Our next question is from Sukanya Mohapatra from the Press Trust of India. Sukanya asks that as you expect an increasing wedding jewelry purchase as spending on other aspects will go down in this particular year, how much in terms of volume sales do you expect in wedding jewelry segment this year compared to last year? And another question from Sukanya, which is another common question which Manoj from City Air News also asks, is that as the pandemic related restriction continues, how do you see 2021 to pan out?
So it's difficult to share, it's difficult to estimate what is the volume. What we can share is that the share of business. So currently we are seeing around, business. Will this go up over the next 3-4 months? Perhaps it will, because we are also taking a lot of active interest in pushing wedding jewelry. Rivaah Aashirwaad is one plank. Our products, our marketing campaigns that will follow, as well as all the efforts that have been put in terms of all the wedding zones that we have, the 600 wedding champions, and the the entire connect with the customer we've built. So certainly the share is going up. Year on year, the share has been going up by a couple of percentage points. And our intent, if I were to look at it, even if I say next year, what would be our intent? I don't have a guidance, but all I can say is we will target to increase the share of wedding jewelry even next year in 21-22 financial year, that is. So how much it will be is very difficult to gauge because, you know, in terms of buyers, etc., it's maybe the right metric is the contribution. And looking at 21 for the second question that you said, we hope and pray that, you know, from here on things continue to look up. So we continue to therefore look forward towards growth and more growth in the next year with all the wedding segment as well as all the other segments of customers coming back strongly into the market. Jewelry is done well, and with gold prices also getting corrected slightly, I think we will find more buyers in the market for precious jewelry, both for gold as well as for diamonds.
Fantastic. And that, in fact, was also Sunira from Hindustan Times Mint's question, which was regarding the share of wedding sales for Tanishq. So let's take her next question. Sunira asks, how is this?
So, yeah, good question, and thanks for asking that, Sunira. The Golden Harvest scheme is a scheme in which there is you enroll. Thereafter, there is an installment paid on a particular date every month within a certain time period. It is a minimum of 10 installments, and after that, you can redeem it from the 11th or 12th month. And in fact, it extends beyond a year up to 440 days or so. I think you can finally redeem all the jewelry. And depending on when you redeem it, you get a certain 75% to 100% of the installment value as the added benefit. It is linked to the installment amount you put, and that percentage of that is what you get as a benefit. In the case of Rivaah Aashirwaad, first of all, it is a plan targeted towards Rivaah and wedding purchase. You've identified that you want something for this. The enrollment value is much higher also because the budgets for wedding are high. So it's a minimum of 20,000. Whereas when it comes to Golden Harvest, I think you can start as low as 2,000 rupees. Secondly, in Rivaah, there is flexibility in the plan. That is, if you miss an installment, there is no problem. It is by design, you can, have a minimum of 6 installments, over a 10-month period. And by the 7th month, you can actually start redeeming it. So you can redeem it much earlier. And in fact, the entire program winds up within 11 months. So it has to be wound up within 11 months. So it's different duration, different flexibility, different enrollment value. And the benefit to the customer in terms of an offer here is on the making charge of the jewelry that is finally bought on redemption. So let us say you have enrolled at 20,000 rupees a month, and you did it for, let's say, 10 months. So 2 lakhs worth of amount that you have put in, but you happen to buy jewelry worth 4 lakhs. Now, and let us say based on that scheme, you get some, let's say you're getting a 20% off on the making charge. You get 20% off on the making charge of the entire 4 lakhs, not on the installment value that you have put in. Whereas when it comes to Golden Harvest, the benefit you get is related to the installment value, monthly installment value. It's not related to the product. So they are two completely different programs. Golden Harvest is much longer term, lower ticket value, and not as flexible, and the benefit is also very different. Whereas Rivaah Aashirwaad is focused towards wedding purchase, shorter term, flexible, and the benefit is directly linked to the purchase of the jewelry at the end of that period.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shala, for that one. Let's take our next question from Soumya Gupta from the Economic Times. And Soumya asks, how did the pilot of sending teams with a limited assortment of jewelry to customers' homes pan out? And what are your further plans with that program?
So, Soumya, we wanted to actually pilot in a big way, try at home. we've been doing it more on request. Whenever, let's say, if customers want to select, we have not yet rolled it out in terms of a structured try at home program. The reason being, every time we were thinking of doing that, there was again another scare of the pandemic still being there, the cases going up in some markets. And if you think of it, in most of the big cities where this is more of a requirement, um, many of the resident welfare associations and societies, even in Carrot Lane, where it was piloted and it was being rolled out in a big way, we've had to kind of hold back on this try at home because it's not something which is still appropriate. The situation hasn't warranted. But let me give you another instance when it came to, let's say, for Zoya, and even for some of our Tanishq customers, many of the known customers, after having shortlisted, they don't want necessarily to come to the store to make the purchase. They say you can bring the jewelry to us, they'll make the payment online and not step out of their house from a safety point of view. We do entertain that all the time. There is no question about that. We haven't necessarily launched a try at home service formally in media and made a lot of people aware. It's more for existing customers who choose to shop within the comfort of their home entirely. But hopefully, once this stabilizes, we should be able to pilot more aggressively try at home, beyond the safety, going to convenience of customers.
Okay, fantastic. Let's move on to our next question. In fact, I see that a couple of our guests have asked us this question, in more or less different words. But what they really want to understand is, what is Tanishq's approach to India's huge wedding planning industry? Shrabna Lahiri from Brand Sutra Event FAQs asked this. And she says that though jewelry is a family purchase, are there any special plans or collaborations there? Also, what is the promotional plan around the Rivaah Aashirwaad campaign? Are there any on-ground activations that are planned?
Interesting question. I think this has been emerging in many of our brainstorming sessions when it comes to wedding, saying that there is a natural partnership possible between a brand like Tanishq and maybe wedding planners and other such platforms and businesses which are catering to wedding planning. I remember we used to certainly participate in a program as a associate sponsor on one of the television channels, which was around the makeup for the bride and all the jewelry that she'll purchase, etc. I think Band Baja Bharat or something. That's what it was, or something else. It was another program. I'm sorry, it is another program. We used to participate, but question mark is for wedding planners and Tanishq. Is there an opportunity to collaborate? Yes, very much there is. Are we open to collaborating with other platforms? Certainly, we are. We have also internally talked about collaboration within the group company with the Taj Group of Hotels, etc. And we have informal conversations with them as to how we can collaborate. In terms of marketing promotion, we are going to be promoting Rivaah during the next few months quite strongly as a campaign for wedding jewelry and for brides and of different communities, etc. Rivaah Aashirwaad per se may not be the topic for promotion. That will be done more inside the stores as well as on our website and on digital medium. But the Rivaah campaign, which showcases the wonderful rituals as well as all the lovely jewelry that goes associated with those.
Question from Sanya Saxena from Social Samosa. And Sanya asks that Rivaah has been associated with a very successful campaign earlier. So how would you do things differently in 2020, and how does Tanishq plan to use social media to promote the campaign?
So I think the story will be taken forward. With every Rivaah campaign, you can expect us to bring out a new dimension. Since we've done a lot of work on ensuring, we've launched close to 3,800 new products in the last couple of years, and we've done extensive work with many communities in terms of building a trousseau so I think our task on hand is first to be able to inform all those people that hey, we have the best quality that we offer and fabulous design. So I think that's task number one that we have to do. And that will be promoted very strongly. You will see whether it is on print or digital or, even on a audiovisual platform, both digitally or even on, OTT platforms or even the conventional ATL platforms. So we will showcase our intense focus on how the product is connected strongly to the respective community and that particular part of the tradition is the story we want to tell, because the insight we have here is that the Rivaah bride is somebody who is wanting to participate very actively. So that will be the story that we'll take. We had earlier taken the platform of the emotion involved in a wedding, especially between the father and the bride in our previous round. So this time around, we want to demonstrate the interconnectedness of the product with the particular tradition.
That is beautiful. And I hope that, I'm sure, in fact, that answers Sanya and Shravna's question. Since we're talking about digital, Mr. Chawla, I'm going to pick up the next question, which comes from Antra Basak from the Retail Jeweler, where she asks, what % of wedding shoppers are buying jewelry online?
Very difficult to give that answer. I don't have the statistic. I can tell you overall, between, let's say a lot of online browsing takes place. I think that's the most important thing. Most brides today and would want to go online and see what Tanishq is having to offer for the kind of community or the kind of wedding she wants. Is she a metro bride or is she a more traditional bride? Is she a Maharashtrian? And so on and so forth. And what are the different functions around which we would recommend what should be the way the trousseau can be built up, or what are the unique design innovations we have. So we see a lot of traction onto our website for Rivaah as well as for Tanishq in general. And that proportion is growing all the time. How much of that is actually translating into sale is very difficult to say, because it's a digital influence. If I look at purchases made based on online, pure online purchase is very rarely for wedding. It will be mostly for smaller ticket items, maybe going up to 50, 60, 70 without consultation. It would have some element of remote shopping involved with a store where somebody real is actually showing them products and assisting them in purchase. So to me, online for Rivaah is more to do with influence. It's more to do with educating customers. It's more to celebrating certain parts of the cultural heritage that we have, certain designs that could go well with the look that she wants to create, so on and so forth. The actual purchasing is most likely going to conclude with the help of assisted buying through a sale. That's all I can say. But overall, if you ask me for non-wedding and otherwise, online and digitally influenced purchases through a joint closure between the store and the online team has been growing very well, and that continues to be a big trend overall for jewelry, even though the percentage is still small. But for wedding, I would still say it's real connect with the actual product and the store that matters.
Mr. Chawla, let's take the next one from Sunita from Hindustan Times. She asks, what % of conversations do you expect from this scheme this wedding season, and what are your internal projections?
Sorry, what percentage of conversations?
Yes.
Or conversions?
She said, what % of, I believe she means conversions, do you expect from the scheme this wedding season, and what are the internal projections?
So, Srija, right? So, Srija, this is not a scheme. This is a program, and this program will continue not just now. It will keep on running. It's an ongoing program. So, it is very difficult to relate the. So, first of all, right now, if somebody enrolls in this Rivaah Aashirwaad program, it will be at least a minimum of 6 to 7 months before the redemption takes place. So, right now, whatever redemptions will take place for enrollments who come in now, we'll start seeing in Q1. So not in the immediate future, because it is a purchase plan which has a minimum of 6 installments required. Okay, therefore a minimum of 7 months before you can start redeeming. In the long run, the way we see it, this is a very strong enabler and a signal to public that Tanishq is a very strong and serious wedding player. One amongst the many things that we have done over the last few years. I talked about the fact that we have, wedding destination stores, wedding zones. We have wedding champions, 600 plus wedding trained champions who are our store staff in the stores to help. And now with Endless Aisle, an Odia couple can also, living in Bangalore, can take the benefit of a Odia wedding champion sitting in Bhubaneswar and through a video call actually connect. And we are in a position to be able to serve all the communities wherever they are, so they don't have to be in their respective towns. Though the products may be lying in different parts of the country, we can facilitate that. So given the combination of digital offerings and remote shopping, Endless Aisle, combination of Rivaah Aashirwaad as an enabler, the products and our serious play that we have done with wedding jewelry and wedding segment itself, we believe this to be one of the biggest growth drivers going forward. In the near term, I think we will continue to gain, contribution from wedding segment. But we must look at this more as a secular trend over years, and we think, there's a huge headroom for growth there, because many jewelers nationally will have, traditional jewelers will have, 50-60% of their business coming from weddings, whereas we are talking about only 24%. So the headroom for growth is huge. But it's a journey, and because the rest of the segments are also growing, so the contribution will grow over a period of time. So I can't answer your specific question on conversions, because this will enable better conversion for a wedding, jewelry purchaser inside the store. Very difficult to give you a number around it.
Thank you, Mr. Chawla.
Maybe if we have not understood your question, we can connect separately as well. We'll carry on with other questions.
Yes, absolutely. We could do that. Okay, let's take the next one from Varun Markande from Ad Gully. And Varun asks, do you intend to continue to expand your retail footprint while you are also promoting contactless purchase of jewelry?
Yes, Varun, thanks. We will continue to expand our retail footprint. Contactless is going to continue to be a trend, but we are also seeing that a lot of our footprint is in catchments and towns which are not served. And customers ultimately are looking at a combination of online and offline. Even this combination of online and offline so far, and remote shopping and all the initiatives that we've thrown in, is only about 10% of the business. And we see, in fact, smaller neighborhood stores and many small town stores actually responding very well to us. So we will continue to expand. We are talking about I think we have opened up 16 or 17 stores already, or slightly more. And we are talking about, reaching a number, new additions for the year, for the fiscal year to be around 30. So, which is not very different from what it usually is. Between 35 to 40 is what we usually do. So we will continue to expand in the second part of the year as well.
Okay, so the next one, and this one, Mr. Chawla, is, specifically relating to Bangalore, the Bangalore sector. So Mukunda from Inadu asks, how has the pandemic scare impacted the jewelry sector in Bangalore? And to overcome this impact, what kind of measures have we implemented in Bangalore specifically? Bengaluru.
Yeah, Mukunda, thank you. I'm also from Bangalore. We are all based here. So I think Bangalore went through a particularly bad phase a few months ago. But I think you and I must both realize that I didn't see that kind of panic amongst people. I think people were out on the road and traffic was there, and barring the IT companies and some companies which have kind of kept them off the road, I think Bangalore is pretty much continues to operate the way it was, except when the government comes down with some kind of containment measures. The business in Bangalore has been good, I must say. In fact, many of the newer stores also we've opened have done well. We have opened stores in Kanakpura Road, we've opened store in HSR layout, in Rajaji Nagar. Um, we've had a relaunch, and we have a new, a bigger store launched in Banshankari. So all our, newer stores have also done well. Our existing stores have also been doing well. In terms of what measures we've taken in Bangalore, I think the safety protocols that we talked about very strictly enforced. Even when during Dhanteras time, we were ensuring that only X number of people can come into a store, be it our store staff or a customer. Any of us who were visiting the store also were not only wearing the mask, but we are also wearing the shield and getting our oximeter reading done. We are also introduced for our staff at least, not only necessary oximeter reading tracking, but also steaming at the end of the day when they go back, so they are safe. If they are safe, the customers are safe. For customers, we offer oximeter reading as an option if they want, but certainly temperature screening, social distancing, masks, gloves if they want it, sanitizing of the jewelry, UV sanitizing. We are small that can go in a mobile phone, etc. So that also gets in. Our surfaces get cleaned and sanitized, periodically every few hours. Also the hand wash regimen. So many things that we are doing as a protocol, and we are adding, we continue to do, and that is true not just for Bangalore, but every store in every city. We are not letting our guard down. We understand complacency can set in, boredom can set in, sometimes bravado can come in, in terms of people wanting to say, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. But we are very vigilant. We have continued to in Bangalore. In fact, because many of us are located here, most of us from corporate office who are not traveling are visiting Bangalore stores and at least even keeping a tighter vigil on the safe air. All kinds of things. During Diwali, we also had a separate section where people could sit and wait before they could get into the store because there were limited numbers allowed. And of course, those who wanted to buy coins could buy it separately, not come in. And we also said those who wanted to do Dhanteras billing and don't mind, we would raise the bill on that day, on Dhanteras day, and deliver it home. Even those, so using all these protocols, we ensured that even during Dhanteras time, which is a very high crowd time, Diwali time, we were able to maintain, I would say, 99.999% of the protocols that we had set out.
Which I think is, would you like to say a quick thank you to?
Thank you to all the members of the media. Thank you for being here and taking the time out and engaging with us and being very patient. I wish I could see all of you all and we could talk more again. Thanks once again for this wonderful afternoon, and let's hope India pulls out of this piece faster without really serious second wave threats, and hopefully the vaccine and herd immunity and all the things kind of come together to pull us out of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chawla. And before we end today's session, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who've generously helped us make this event come together to become such a big success. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us. From all of us at Tanishq, we wish you great times ahead, and we are happy to help in any way that we can. You can visit us at www.tanishq.co.in/Rivaah for Rivaah by Tanishq and its products. I'm Zina Fernandez signing off. Take care and have a great evening.